This is a look at the Ai1 for the first time you pull it out of the box and explain how to connect and how to access the relevant ports. So first thing to make sure is that if you're using bird spikes, that make sure that these are fixed, and you can use a cable tie to secure this end of the bird spike to the solar panel bracket. So use a cable tie here and here to finish the connection, but the main securing of the bird spikes is through the two Phillips screwdrivers here. So the top of the Ai1 is really the solar panel and the bird spikes. This is the pole mounting kit to secure the U-bolts on a vertical pole using these slots here. So U-bolt comes in and goes through these holes and repeats on the bottom slot, or you can use some of the other holes to secure to walls or other structures, or even horizontal pipes. The main way to talk to the Ai1 is through the rear of the system. So we have a vent port here that allows us access to the switch and the USB port. The sensor connection is on the side here with an LED showing the status of the Ai1. So when we ship the Ai1, it is shipped off, and this LED will not flash. To turn it on and to access the Ai1 to see what the current information is, you need to open this port, which is a hand tightened vent port. So just use hand strength to undo the port and to tighten the port when you need to secure it back on. So this has a hydrophobic filter inside. That means that moisture does not enter and condensation does not occur. And inside the Ai1 is a desiccant tube to prevent long-term condensation. If you do need to access the body of the Ai1, it is 6 screws that you need to open, but for most functions you can just use the vent port to access this hole. So through this hole there is a switch a rocker switch that you can turn to the on position, and once that turns on you'll see that this LED flashes. So it flashes when you first turn it on, and then it flashes once every 15 seconds to show you that it is operating. So it's a very quick flash once every 15 seconds. Okay. The next function of this port is that it has a USB connection inside. So use the USB cable and secure the USB inside the housing, and then you are able to use the devconfig software to talk to the station. Okay. Now once you've finished with the software, make sure that you pull the USB port out and return the vent port to secure the housing from insects and moisture, and there's no need to secure that any more than hand tightening. And of course we leave that on because we're ready to deploy the station. To install the software used for the Ai1, visit measci.com/devconfig.exe. Devconfig is a program developed by Campbell Scientific to talk to Campbell Scientific data loggers and associated equipment, and the Ai1 is compatible with devconfig and all other software packages by Campbell Scientific. So once the file has been downloaded to the location set by your browser, use the Open File button to install the devconfig package with all the default options. Once you've installed and are running devconfig, you can always check for new updates by using the Help button and seeing if there's any new updates available for devconfig. It is recommended that you always install latest updates if they are available. The Ai1 is compatible with the CR300 series of data loggers, so you can find that by using the device type search feature and typing in CR300, and use the CR300 series, not the CR3000, which is a much older data logger. Once you've selected it from the list, you do need to install the USB drivers on first usage. This is only the first time you connect to an Ai1. Once you've installed the drivers for each computer, you no longer need to repeat this step. So once they are installed, plug in the Ai1 USB cable, and you should hear the Windows sound to indicate that a device has been found. And then you can select it from this pull down option to select the communication port that has been allocated. So the COM port that is shown on your computer will be different, but it will show the CR300 name that is the device connected on that COM port. If you unplug the cable or haven't plugged the cable in, when you use the pull down button, you'll see there's no device listed in this area. So if you don't see the device, make sure you check your USB port connections and then select the pull down option to highlight the CR300. The Ai1 will operate without external power, just off USB power. So the fact that you've found the CR300 from the pull down list indicates that the USB connection is working. It doesn't mean the Ai1 is turned on. We're using the direct connection, select the COM port, and then all the other options can be left by default. You do not need to specify the PAC bus address, and just use the connect button to connect. Once this area shows you the actual information, then you have connected to the station. There's separate documentation and help to show you all the functions available here, but the most common usage is to go to Data Monitor and select the public table, which shows you the real-time information that the Ai1 is currently measuring. So we can see if there's any errors, such as we can see a program restart, and we can watch the messages to see what the Ai1 is doing. So this is probably the most useful field to watch the messages. Next is the battery voltage to make sure that the Ai1 has got sufficient charge. And then some status information such as temperature, humidity, operating current, modem details, things like that. In this control field, these are all Boolean values. So if you set any of these to a non-zero value, then it will do what the message says. So this will renew the equal connection, this will read the status sensors, and this block is associated with the main sensors used on this station, which might be a sonde or a Doppler current sensor or a flow meter. So to show you how these work, you just need to double click to highlight the value, and any non-zero value entered will be translated to -1, which indicates true. So you can enter any non-zero value and then it will show -1 as a true value. And so I did something that was nice and simple for the Ai1 to do, to read the status sensors. So you can see that you can set that to any value. It will get reconverted to -1 as a true, and then it will do what it said, which in the case of what I just asked is that it read the status sensors such as current, temperature, humidity, and so on. The other measurements, so this is the status area, this is the control area, and then this is the measurement area. So this station that I'm looking at is a Sontec IQ flow meter. So it has things such as flow rate, stage, velocity, and so on. The values in this area will depend on the sensors configured for your Ai1. Okay, so that's the direct connection method. We'll disconnect from this station. The other way of connecting when you're not plugged in is using the inbuilt communications, typically cellular. So for that we use the IP connection type, and we use the server address that is allocated specific to your Ai1. So in the station that I'm connected to currently, it is minos.connectgds.com using the port of 8040. So you need to refer to the documentation that came with your Ai1 to find out what your server address is, or I'll show you another method by reading it out of the CR300 screen shortly. When you use this method, you do need to specify the PAC bus address, and in the case of the unit that I'm connected to, I know it's 1004, or that I want to connect to, I know it's 1004, so we use the connect button. And now this will take longer because it's using the cellular connection, but we can see that the station has been found and it's now loading the settings for that device. So this is slower than USB because it's over the cellular method built in, but once you connect it, it gives you exactly the same set of tools, such as we go to the Data Monitor tab, we wait until the list of tables appears and we select the public table, and then it will read these public variables from the data logger table, and we can see that exactly the same information is displayed here. Now, if you don't know what your connection details are, this address details, you can find them out from the Ai1 by using the direct connection method. And we can go to other parts of the screens to find out where this information is stored. So we can see on the Network Services tab what the address and the port are that we need to use, which went in when we're on IP, went in this area. And then we can see on the Data Logger tab what the PAC bus address allocated to this station are. So these three things are unique to each station: the address, the port, and the PAC bus address. You can either read it out of the direct connection screen, or you can refer to your documentation that came with the Ai1 at the time of shipping to see what that information is. So that's the overview on how to connect to the Ai1 for the first time.